different things, so we
Okay.
always got a lot going on.
Okay. All right. Well, first I need your full name.
Thomas Norbert Wapelhorst.
Okay. And I have to have this on film too, so I do have permission to record this interview. Okay. All right. So first off, where and when were you born?
I was born in St. Charles, St. Joseph Hospital, July the 15th, 1942.
1942. Okay. And let's see. Who else in your family? Who else is in your family?
My immediate family are, okay, well, my wife Cheryl,
Okay.
and my two daughters, Teresa and Jennifer, and then my 5 sons.
Okay. Five sons, and their
Right.
names?
Their names is Christopher, Michael, Tommy, Jeffrey, and Jeffrey and Danny. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm lucky. I only have one daughter, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I had them backwards. Jeffrey was Danny was before Jeffrey.
Okay. And what were your parents' names?
Virginia and Norbert Wapelhorst.
Okay. Yeah. I know Norbert.
Yes,
Yeah.
my dad.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. What type of work did your parents do?
Well, my dad ran the park system all his life, and my mother was basically a homemaker.
Okay. And you have memories of your childhood growing up?
Sure.
Yeah. Could you want to tell me something? Maybe a little something about your childhood days?
We actually went. The first thing I can remember, we lived on Jackson Street. We was one block off of First Capitol Drive, which was Clay Street at the time. Spent a lot of time up and down Clay Street there. You know, like at Moe's Frozen Custard, and the St. Charles Dairy, and Rankin's Grocery Store, and a couple other stores. There was a Kroger up there and things like that. And we spent a lot of time at Blanchette Park, and spent a lot of time down here because in those days we'd walk down here and didn't have to worry about getting picked up or anything. You just went wherever you wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, wherever we wanted to go.
Okay. And your parents, can you think of any important lessons that they taught you?
Well, they taught me, to be respectful of people and things along those lines there, and get a good education. And let's put it this way, I was pretty good at getting an education, but I wasn't interested in going to college whatsoever.
Really?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, you've done well.
Yeah, I've always worked hard. I didn't mind working. I like to work.
Yes. So were there other family members living close by to you all, like uncles? And,
Oh yeah, my mom's brother, and then the Wapelhorst family was large. They came off of a farm down there that my great grandpa was down there after Arnold Wapelhorst was the first one down there in 1850, and then Jacob was after him, and then my grandfather was after that.
Yeah, we have files on the Wapelhorst
Yeah, files
family.
on that. So there's a lot of us around.
Yes.
There are a lot of us around.
Right. You remember your great grandparents?
I do not.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't even remember my grandpa Wapelhorst because he died about right before I was born.
Okay.
Right before I was born. I got pictures of them all, pictures of the farm and different things like that, but I don't remember. Now, my grandma, I do remember well. You know, my dad's mother, I remember her well.
So you'd go out to the farm?
We'd go out to the farm back in the 50s, and then no lights.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have to ask what they did for a living if they were on a farm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Any your memories of what St. Charles looked like back then as you grew up?
Well, St. Charles is it ended at Lindenwood College there basically. That's where it stopped, and then down Highway 94. Once you got to the Wabash Bridge, it was gone, and then when you went out 94. Once you got to the where the highway is now, you was out of town. There was about in the 50s, I think there was about 15,500 people in St. Charles at that time. In the 50s, somewhere in that particular thing, in that area, yeah.
Do you remember your grandparents? And great grandparents, obviously too. They all came from Germany, right?
Most of them came from Germany.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Did your grandparents speak any German? Do you remember?
On my mother's side, my great grandma lived with my grandpa there. She would sew and she would pray in German.
Oh, okay. Mine would sing in German.
I think she probably sung a little bit too.
Yeah.
She was from Chamois.
Oh, okay. And growing up, what kind of hobbies did you have?
Well, I played a little baseball, you know, and we did a lot of bicycle riding and things like that. I didn't have any particular hobby. I built some model airplanes and things along those lines, and model boats and stuff like that. But I didn't have any other hobbies other than that. Played some sports.
Okay, all right. Tell me a little bit about your grammar and high school education.
Well, I went to St. Peter's Grade School, and then I went to Duchesne High School there. And I took mostly generalized courses there, you know, history and things like that. I took physics and a few other math courses along those lines there.
So did you have any goals or dreams as you were growing up? Like what did you
No, I don't think I
what you
really
wanted
had
to be?
anything. I was just
Yeah?
interested in going to work. That's all I was kind of interested in, going to work.
All right. Well, then that leads into what was your first job then?
Well, it depends upon how far you can go back. You know, in the old days, we could do a little work for different people before we were 16 years old, you know. But after that, my dad ran a park. I went to work out there, and then I was helping them haul beer on a beer truck when I was a senior in high school. And the year after that, we hauled beer all over the county here. The liquor inspector overlooked us. We weren't salesmen because we didn't write out the ticket, but they wanted us to supply the muscle. You know, we did the loading, unloading, and things like that.
Okay.
Then I went to work for a grocery chain over in St. Louis, and I left there and I went to work for Hedges and Hoffer up here. And I ended up, when I was 20, as a meat cutter. And that was a good, I was lucky to get into that situation. And then what happened, they had to make me a journeyman right away because they couldn't work me overtime unless I was a journeyman.
Oh,
Then I left there and I went to work for Bud Wilkie and Chrysler Plymouth,
Okay.
or Chrysler Plymouth dealer, or Chrysler Dodge dealer up here
dealer.
on First Capital. And then my father-in-law wanted somebody to come to work down here, but I kind of liked the car business. It was a lot of fun, you know. But I decided to leave here and I went down there. That would have been 53 years ago.
okay. Right. Well, how did you get into the jewelry business then?
Well, my father-in-law owned Walter's Jewelry, see.
All right.
I married his daughter, and I think I was 2 years after I married her, I believe I went down there to the jewelry store.
Okay. So you got a degree in jewelry.
Well, I did.
Right?
I took personally almost every course they had. I did it all through correspondence because I had some children and I couldn't just basically leave.
Okay.
So I just did most of that in the evenings. I'd do 2 or 3 lessons a night, and then you had to take a test. And then when you get down to the finals, you had to go to see like a school teacher to watch you take the test and stuff like that. You'd sit there, and I'd sit at the next table and you'd take the test, and so you'd have a proxy on it, and then they would give you your diploma in that situation.
Right.
That's basically, I learned a lot just by working, watching what was going on. You know, I followed my father-in-law around and I heard what he said and said why it was this and why it was that. So that's how I learned that situation.
Okay.
And one time I was a member of the American Gem Society. You had to be invited into that. But it didn't work out so good around here. Nobody knew what it was. It was mostly tied to bigger cities. There was only, I think, 4 of us in the state when I first joined that. But I didn't follow up too much on that.
Okay. Right. Well, let's see. Where do I want to go from here? Well, Walter's Jewelry has been around for a long time.
Yes.
And the building, of course, is so important, given that the Sibleys had the building.
Yes. I think what happened, they rented that building.
Yes,
They
I think they
rented
did
that
too,
building.
because they were waiting for their home to be
Built.
completed on the Lindenwood campus.
Correct. See, that was his settlement from that lawsuit out on the Osage.
Right.
Yeah, out
Yes.
on the Osage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Well, given that you've worked on Main Street for such a long time, can you talk a little bit about Main Street and all the changes that
Well, there's
it's
been a
gone
lot of
through?
changes. Mostly all the stores when I was a kid are gone. Like
Yeah.
Mattingly's, the Fireman Dime
Yeah.
store are gone. There was a couple other jewelry companies down here. There was a couple of hardware stores. They're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
Furniture stores are all gone, except the one that April has there, that furniture store that she has. But up and down the entire street, everything has changed.
Right.
There's not much left anymore. I used to have the locker room down here. It's
Yeah.
gone. As you go down the street and walk from building to building, Penny's is gone. You can see what Standard Drug is gone.
Yeah.
You just kind of see what's going on. About the original ones left is Throws, Michelle's, and us.
Yes.
And then the Trading Post is getting to be an older situation down here now, but mostly all the rest of them are just gone.
What did you think of when they turned North Main Street into a mall?
Well, I didn't know whether it was good or bad. You know what I mean? I think it started off pretty good, but it wasn't a thing. After a year, you could see the situation changing, so that's when they decided to take it out. After about, I think it was 5 or 6 years, they decided to take them all out. I think anytime you block the access on the automobile, you got a problem. You know, people just don't want to do that walking anymore. And if you look at all the rest of the malls like Northwest Plaza, they're all gone.
They're all gone.
They're all gone. You know, they just don't have them anymore. People just didn't like them anymore. They shop differently now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Is there anything you'd like to tell me about your life, your work, St. Charles? Just
Well, I think St. Charles is still, you know, in a growing situation. You know, we've lived here all our life. We haven't never left town. My wife has lived here all her life too. My kids all live here except for one moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, but the rest of them all live here. But I think the city is in a growing situation, and I think they got a chance to grow a lot more. If you look around the county and you look at the things we have in, you know, like St. Peter's is this and O'Fallon is this, but they don't have anything. I mean, you go to Lake St. Louis, they got a lake, but you can't get on it. You know, you go down here, we have different things. You got to look at, you know, Louis Blanchette's place, and you got to look at the Lewis and Clark situation. I still have people come in that store. One lady's in it; it's their third trip. They come here, go all the way to Oregon, and they take the trip in reverse.
yeah.
You know, and we got a state park here. We got we got a river here. We got a university here. We got plenty of restaurants here. We got a convention center here. We got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 parks here in the city. So I think the city is in a growing stage, building a new city hall. The county's expanding. Their offices here are expanding. So I think St. Charles got to look forward to. Of course, we're running out of dirt. It won't be long. The only way we're going to be able to go is up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. A lot of the other, well, St. Peter's has kind of encircled us.
Yes, they have now. So we're kind
closed us
of
out.
stuck in this situation. But they're expanding north. You know, there's a lot of new homes going up down there, and there's a lot more to go. You know, so I think things are good in the county and the city here. I have no problem with it.
Yeah. You like the idea of City Hall being down on
We had
Main
to do
Street?
something.
Yeah.
We had to do something. I went down to the opening or the dirt, you know, to break the ground there, but I thought it was going to be more on the end towards Clark Street. It's kind of in the middle
In
there.
the middle.
Now, I wasn't real happy about that, but the future development, the way I understand, they're going to take those sawtooth buildings and change those into like a farmer's market and an adult entertainment place and things like that. So when they get the street through and they get all that built, I think we'll be able to see how that's going to evolve into a better situation. But I think they had to do something for that space. They just didn't have anywhere to go.
Okay.
Unless they, you know, bought a building and maybe ran you all out of here and took this building. You know, they need
They've got
space.
plans for us. Yes.
Yeah, they needed space, and the county needs space too. I think they're running out of space too.
Yes.
I could foresee them, you know, taking over the old city hall and doing something with that eventually. I think it'd be time, but I think they'll do that. They're gonna have to do something. You got to do something, or you're going to have to
Right.
file a condemnation suit and get some ground someplace else. Because I don't think they'll ever move. I don't think they want to leave the old courthouse. You know, it's been the courthouse for a long time, but when you run out of space, you got to do something.
Are you retired?
No.
Okay. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 82 and I work every day. Matter of fact, since the 1st of November, we have been so busy. I think I've only missed 28 days. Well, I had knee surgery, had a new knee put in, so that set me back a couple of weeks. But we've been very busy. I was working almost every day.
Yeah.
But normally we don't do that. But when you're busy, you got to do what you have to do.
Yeah. Well, you have, I think you mentioned, you have a lot of repeat customers
Yes,
that
we have a
come
lot of
back
repeat customer, a lot of repair work to do. We always have a lot of repair work to do. I get a lot of that. I get a lot of that from word of mouth. You know, people I had just fixed there, so we get a lot of that situation.
Right, right. Okay, well, I think that I've got
Some information
a
there?
good information here
Good.
that we can put together, and it will probably be posted. We have a YouTube channel,
Okay.
and it'll be posted online so that it's not just for our benefit, but it's going to be for the benefit
Whoever
of
else,
other
yes.
people, you know, want to take a look at it.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Very good.
Again,
Thank you.
We very will probably start doing little video pieces, filming down North Main and South Main, so we'll probably be by the store
Right,
and do a little
right.
bit of filming.
You know
as
what's
well.
hard to believe that this was a city hall, was a police station, was the consul chambers, and everything
Yes.
else. You couldn't exist out of this, and I
Right.
think that's happening to the other building. They
Yeah.
can't exist there
Yeah.
anymore, so they have to do something.
And ages ago, this was the fish and the market and fish house.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to carry papers for the Cosmos Monitor. They printed that paper right across the street here. This
Okay.
street right here. They printed that paper there.
And you're right about the county being interested in the current City
City
Hall
Hall,
building.
yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
All they have to do is make another walkway, a skyway across.
Well, what they could do with there, I'm sure that if they take it over, that glass will have to go.
It probably will have
Yeah,
to go.
you can't get it anymore.
Right,
So
yeah.
they'll. I mean, modern technology are going to be able to do something
Yeah.
that's going to be better.
Yeah.
They just.
I think the real plan for it is that I think that Steve Ellman wants to put the courts in that
Yes,
building and the prosecuting attorney and such.
Yes,
yeah.
that's what I'm hearing. Joe McCullough, I know him real well, and he went to the prosecuting attorney, and I said, I thought they only had like 3 lawyers and maybe 3 or 4 other people working there. They got an army of lawyers. I didn't know it was
Right. Yeah.
that big.
Right.
I mean, I don't. He told me how many lawyers. I think they got something like 40 or 50 lawyers in there, and they got gals there, and they're out. He told me they're out of space. A couple of them gals come in the store. I said, "Are you out of space?" "Oh yeah, we're out of space. We need space desperately."
Right. Right. And us, yes, the city will take this building back from us because we don't own it. We only rent it from the
Yes.
city. They are looking at redoing Franklin School now for us
You know what? When I was young, we used to play basketball there.
in the gym
In
there.
the gym, and we went there. We'd take after it closed. The guy had a key. We'd go in there. and We'd play basketball. You could take a shower and do
You
everything.
had a key to the gym.
I didn't have a
Oh,
key. Somebody
okay.
did.
Okay.
Some elderly man. I don't remember who he was. But he always come down, locked it up, hung around, and he locked it up when everybody left. But didn't even let you take a shower there. When you're done playing basketball.
Right.
So anyway, that was after it closed. But I always said they should have made a community thing out of it immediately for that area, so they could play basketball and they could play pool and ping pong and different things. But they never did that. But if they rejuvenate, I think that'd be a good deal.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of thrilled about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll stay working here and helping to get us moved if we can go over there and get in that building.
Yeah. I mean, it needs some rejuvenation, but why not do that? I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't know what they got planned for this building. I don't have any idea.
I think the city will probably sell it, and I know Randy Schilling is interested in.
Yeah, well,
in it.
Randy's done a good job
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah, and he's already told me that he'd turn it back into the marketplace to have retail kind of startups
Yes.
begin
in
here.
Yeah. Well, he's a smart fella.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. Been very successful.
Yes.
If he hadn't taken over some of these buildings, they might be dilapidated,
Yeah.
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 But he did a good job with the old post office.
Yeah.
I remember when postcard was a penny. My dad ran the park system, so when he'd come home for lunch sometime, I'd ride back down there. Our first stop was always at the post office to pick up the mail. And we'd go in there. Huey Holmes was a
Yeah.
postmaster. I remember him too.
Right, right. Yeah, most times, well, I went to Sacred Heart Academy, and so I'd be picked up from school. Well, we'd come down here to Main Street, and maybe I'd get to go into Woolworths
Yes.
and get an ice cream,
cone,
or,
yeah.
or
Standard
one of the
drug had that,
wonderful
yeah.
hot dogs
Absolutely,
in the
yeah.
square bun, or no.
My
this
mom
one,
graduated from
yeah.
the Sacred Heart High School in 28.
Yeah,
28. I think my sister still got her ring and all that stuff yet from the graduation there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then church on Sundays, we always went to Borromeo, and always coming back down to Main Street to pick up the Sunday
I was
newspaper
kind
at
of worried
Almonds.
about them maybe closing that school, but I think their enrollment's down. But now I think it might have turned a little bit and
Yeah.
start going the other way.
Right, yeah. Well, they sent us all out. I grew up on a farm off of Country Club Road.
Oh yes.
And then eventually we went to St. Robert's, and then eventually over to St. Elizabeth and
Van
Seton.
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the Catholic churches, they were building too much stuff like Florissant and Ferguson. I mean, they had a church every other
Right.
block. Of course, there was so many people over there.
Right.
But now it's like high school. St. Dominic, I don't think we'll ever build another high school.
Mm-hmm.
You either go there or you're not going to go.
Right.
It's just the way it is. It's the way it is. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you inviting me down.
No, this is good. This is good. We're going to be doing more of this with other
Other
notables,
people, yeah,
other
yes.
legendary locals.
Yeah, when I look
Yeah.
in here, you all have this place filled up. I don't know how the police